Well, good morning, good morning, good morning. Hope everybody's doing well. It's been a little bit since we had our last ICT shotgun Twitter space or whatever you want to call it. It's not Saturday like I usually do it, but it's going to be one of those, I don't know how long it's going to be sessions. It depends on wherever my impulses take me. If this is your first time listening to one of my live Twitter spaces, it's probably better if you don't listen to it with children around because I have a tendency to go off and sometimes use colorful language that may not be suitable for children. I'm going to do my best, obviously, to try to go through that as much as some of you like to hear it. I don't like that part about me, but for those of you who are veterans or active in the armed forces, thank you very much for your service. Today we're memorializing those that are gone. I was never in the military, by the way. I was raised by military folks, and they pretty much talked me out of it. I was going to do the Navy, but I was told otherwise. So I want to talk a little bit about navigating the markets and high probability trading. And I'm going to kind of like revisit some ideas as I go along that we've either touched on or taught in great detail on my YouTube channel, and kind of like recalibrate you. Because sometimes, it's easy for us to get distracted with the everyday chores of running a family. If you're alone or solo, it's still enough for you to be distracted with your own personal endeavors and work and school and whatever it is that you may be having that draws your attention or energy, sucks the life out of you. You don't want to study. You don't want to look at the chart. You want something really easy, something 1, 2, 3, get me in and I'm done. And I don't have to think too much about the marketplace. I've tried to do the best I could this year to try to adopt some kind of a teaching approach for the folks that are met with that type of challenge. And I understand that, you know, the more advanced things I'm making available to everyone can feel a little overwhelming. And it's easy for someone that doesn't have a lot of time or is lazy. And I'm just going to be honest, it's most of the time it's that. And sometimes readers or listeners see that from me and it offends them. And they think, who's this guy? I'm not listening to him. He's talking down to me. No, I'm telling you the facts. I mean, most of the students that come through my fold, whether it be private mentorship or public now that I'm teaching for free, um, the ones that don't make it, they swear up and down that they put the time in. They swear up and down. I saw a guy the other day on Twitter. I'm sick and tired of hearing I haven't studied long enough or I haven't put the time in. When I see that, I mute you. I'll let you see my stuff, but I'm going to mute you because that's just the toxic mindset. It took me 6 years, 6 years with no encouragement, no one sitting here pouring their insights and encouragement into me. I had the Lord. I shouldn't say it that. In terms of educators or teachers or people I bought books and courses and stuff from, none of them made themselves available like I try to do for you. And I went through a lot of emotional turmoil, psychological carnage, and it was all self-induced. But at the time, if you were asking me, I would have swore up and down it was the last person I tried to listen to. And that's a bitter pill to swallow when you're brand new, or if you're impulsive or lazy. It's easy to say, oh, it's that guy's fault. It's that person's course that messed me up, when it's just you trying to relinquish all responsibility. And in this industry, you have chosen, whether you realize it or not, to take on one of the most challenging things, and it requires the utmost focus and 100% personal responsibility. There's nobody's fault. There's nobody's, blame for anything you do with your money but you. I don't put some kind of hypnotism on you and make you buy or sell anything. And no other educator does that either. If they have a ware or a product and you use that as a catalyst to get into a trade and it loses, whose responsibility is that? Yours. Absolutely yours. And it's easy to feel like you're a victim when you're unorganized. And it's convenient for people to reach for that as an excuse. Well, this guy really is not teaching everything. He's holding something back, or, you know, the free trial worked. It sucked me into it, and then when I tried to use it, paying for it, um, the black box system failed me. That's somebody that is really not equipped to be a trader. And I'm just gonna be blunt and tell you that's exactly what that is. And if you're trying to be a trader, you have to understand in the first few years, it's going to be a lot of uphill, and it's going to be a lot of hit and miss where you think you have it and then you fall back a few steps. And it's easy if you're lazy. It's easy if you're not committed and not passionate about wanting to do this to talk yourself right out of it. That's why a lot of college dropouts drop out. They're either told by friends and family or influenced by someone that they like, and they say, well, I'm going to follow that person's footsteps. And they start their pursuit of the college degree. And then their first year, they're thinking, this is too much. And many times, just the prerequisite, the question of whether or not it's worthwhile for them comes up more frequently because they don't like what they're doing. They're not passionate about it. And when I was a working man in my 20s, I was plagued with this haunting desire to just be out of the normal. I wanted to be something different. I didn't want to be caught in this mundane existence that everybody in my family thought that they were successful because they had a 30-year mortgage on a house and paying 11% interest on their mortgage. And yeah, it's you're bitching right now that interest rates are high for mortgages, but I watched my uncles and aunts buy homes for 80,000 and 90,000, which were at the time they were pretty decent houses. They're not upscale, obviously, but you know one of my aunts and uncle, they owe more, three times more than their house was sold to them at purchase price because they have not been good stewards of their money and finances and they made poor decisions. I didn't want to follow anyone's footsteps when I was coming up. I just wanted to be different. I wanted to trailblaze, and everybody around me did their best to try to discourage me. And that's typically how the enemy works. He'll slip in and enter the mouth of your loved one, your friend, your coworker. And social media has provided a wonderful stage for the enemy because he can slip into DMs, he can slip into a tweet or a response or a reply or a comment section on a YouTube video and steal your joy, steal your pursuit of excellence and your passion. And it's really important when you're navigating these markets that you really do your best to try not to have so much influencers around you because influencers, well, let's just put it bluntly, everybody wants the attention because the attention equates to clicks and clicks equates to monetized YouTube videos or eventually a sale in the future. Okay. Many of the things that have been said about me over the years, I've been doing very detailed approaches, but still being in my own lane to try to dismiss all that stuff. For the people that have been here for a long time, they don't need to worry about those things because they see the fruits and the evidence that all the things that I've been teaching and saying are in fact the truth. But influencers, they do what I did and kind of like pioneered it with social media, at least in FinTwit. When in the financial sector of Twitter, I was the bad boy when I came out there. I was in everybody's face and challenging them to do this and show that. And the ones that would talk a lot usually clammed up, and you knew they were the ones that weren't able to do anything. And I learned that the ones that talk the most shit, they usually were having the easiest crowds to gather. So I went upscale on that. Like I went full bore in everybody's face and was like a troll. And I knew that the initial crowd would create like a chatterbox. And that chatterbox is viral because if they can create an atmosphere, and I promise you I'm going to get to some trading stuff, but it's important for me to set the foundation for this and why I'm even talking to you today. But I had went out there and poked the people that everybody looked up to as heroes, and they just got real quiet. They weren't able to show anything. They weren't able to call anything advanced. Um, Nothing. Wouldn't show any executions, but they would give you these stories over their 20-year career. And the bottom line is I understand that that seems like the easy approach, and a lot of folks on YouTube or Instagram or Twitter, they like to come in, they like take their pop shots at me, hoping that they'll get a rise out of me because if I engage them, that gives them an audience. Um, you're going to have to earn your own audience, folks. I mean, when you get a crowd, I can bark. I can bark and like a carnival bark and bring people to look at a train wreck scene. Okay, something that everybody wants to come and take a look at. And you may not really be interested in what I'm teaching, but I have a lot of students that came to me by way of drama and more so by everyone else's drama about me. And that's the thing right now. The flavor of the month is what can we say about ICT and how we can make his stuff easier, faster, or why it doesn't work when everybody else is making money with it. And I'm here to remind the folks that are influencers, I promise you, come November, your circle of influence will grow. Right now, I'm the interest, but I'm stepping away from it, not because anyone pushed me away, but I want my personal life back. And I knew when I drew a crowd with drama, I had something that would make them stay. You can't just garner a crowd in your influence or your circle of influence on social media and assume that that's going to equate to you having a meteoric rise or more people interested in you. You have to have something of substance. And even at the height of my drama on Twitter, when I would go and poke everybody and say, "Can you do this?" And I'm doing this with a demo account, folks. I've always done this with a demo, and I've disarmed all of them because they want to come and say, "Hey, you're using a demo." Yes, I'm absolutely using a demo because I'm teaching, and I'm outside the scope of any legality by doing that because I'm not acting as a financial advisor. We're talking about candlesticks and where they're going to go next. You can't lose money on that, and you can't make money on that. But the people that read between the lines, they say, wait a minute now, if this guy's doing this with a demo account and I learn what he's doing, what could I do with that? Exactly. Exactly. But the folks out there that try to compete against me, they'll make all kinds of nonsense up. They'll talk about me in their live streams, talk about how I'm only trading a demo. That's not true. I teach in a demo. I teach a lot in a demo because if I'm going to be your educator and I am not influenced or deterred by anyone in social media that says you're teaching or trading a demo account, bro, really? Look at what I've done with a demo. I don't do any advertising. Everything that has grown in our community is organic. You know what the best growth has come by? Me not being dramatic. There's a lesson in that, folks. The, the internet is huge. Okay. And for those that are trying to get their own little thing going on or have been doing it and haven't really got their footing yet, there's such a huge audience. I'm not taking your audience from you. I'm not preventing your audience from seeing you either. I've done nothing except for just stayed in my own lane. And people that come here, they want to learn how to read price action and eventually become their own trader. They're finding that. They're finding me as a resource, a conduit. I don't want to be a celebrity. And Matt, Trades by Matt, I saw your tweet. I'm not interested in having like a show up and meet and greet type of thing like that. And it's nothing against you. I get that literally every other day. Either I get it by email or companies will reach out to me, brokerage firms will reach out to me, prop trading firms have reached out to me like that. Um, I don't want to be a celebrity. And if I do those types of things, it would appear that's not the case. That in fact, I'd be wanting more attention when I don't want the attention. I want you to learn. I want you to learn how to read price action. So I'm not interested in anyone coming to my home and having a meet and greet, and I'm not interested in going to your home or wherever you'd be and have a meet and greet and have an interview. I'm not interested in that. I'm really not that interesting. Yeah, I know there's a lot of mystique around me and all that, but I'm just a plain old guy. Like I try to live a regular life. I'm blessed. The Lord has richly blessed me, and I just want to enjoy the latter portion of my life. And I don't want to be primarily driven by what these markets are doing or who wants to learn this or that from me, which is the reason why I'm writing the books. So whatever I write in these books, that's my final word on the matter. There isn't going to be like future mentorships or future one-on-ones or anything like that. I'm not interested in that. Like I'm tired. Okay. I'm tired of it because the world's becoming much more toxic. And whenever you find someone that has something that works really, really well, and nobody else can compete with it in terms of precision, the level of detail that is predictable, you can anticipate, not react. You can anticipate these things in price. It makes you feel inferior. And that inferiority complex, you can see it in other YouTubers, other social media entities. And I could have a field day with a younger ICT. Like 10 years ago, oh my goodness, I would be absolutely loving this right now. But I don't want to do it. Okay. I don't want to do it. I've either it might be I've grown older and I'm getting in those really fuddy-duddy ages, or I just lost my interest in it. The fun and sport in it is no longer there. So now when I talk to you, even the folks that say they never watch my videos, but they always come out with something that I've said. It's almost like they pick up my vernacular, but they'll swear up and down, I don't ever watch ICT videos. I've never read a book on day trading. I don't know why people say that stuff when it's not true. It's obvious that that's not true. Okay. Everybody in trading has picked up a book. I've read lots of books. I've bought lots of courses. I bought courses from other mentors, people that you probably know, maybe some people you haven't never known before. And the thing that comes up a lot through the people that either have a service or a source of mentorship of some kind or something in trading they're trying to market or whatever, they'll say I've taken things and rebranded it. And the folks that have sat down and did the work on this stuff, and even from the people from those specific areas of study, for instance, like supply and demand, everybody insists that the order block is supply and demand, and it's not. It's absolutely not. And the fact that there's a change in the state of delivery of price completely removes the idea of any supply and demand factors. Because what you're stating is the price is going up because there's buying pressure and prices going lower because there's selling pressure. And that's not true. It's absolutely not true. But that's what these individuals, even in the financial sector, they have jobs. Okay. They worked for financial institutions. They have learned to parrot those same things. And if they don't talk that way, they'll be slagged in the industry. And they can't afford that. I don't care if people agree or don't agree with me. I don't care. It doesn't change the fact this is the truth. This is the way it is. When you come into this industry, you're met with all kinds of enticements. Quit your job, get rich, drive these cars, go to these fancy places, get finer looking women, get a better man, all those types of things. And I found out early on they were not my initial motivators, but when I had a taste of money, the very first few times where I had winning trades and I felt like I had it figured out when I didn't. And that's the problem with having the first few years of your trading. You're going to be convinced that you figured it out. Even if you're having short-term, immediate reward by doing something, you may not understand what it is that you did, but you're looking at the fact that you made that money. and because you want to feel good about yourself. And people like myself, where I felt like I had to prove something to the world because my parents didn't want anything to do with me. My own parents didn't want that, and I was scheduled to be aborted. I wasn't even supposed to be here, but God said otherwise. And because of that, I had a chip on my shoulder. I still do. And the first person that gave me fatherly love and attention was my grandfather. And everything I do in my life, everything I do, I wish many times that I could get his approval, and I can't get it, right? So it constantly is like a fire under me that just keeps on burning. When I started making money, my position about what it is that motivated me, helped me navigate through all these ups and downs, was that, well, wait a minute, if I can make that much money, if I did this many contracts with that type of a move, then I could make $20,000 a month. Well, if I did $20,000 a month, that's like $250,000 a year almost. So that's what I'm gonna try to trade more aggressively. I want to make more money because I like how I feel. And if I could start flashing that, showing it to other people, then I would get that itch scratched. And I did. I did all those types of things. And you know what? It didn't work. It was like a mosquito bite. Yeah, you felt it bite you and it's pulling the little thing it sticks in you to suck the blood out of you. Then you either smack it or you start scratching it. Well, as soon as you scratch it, that's it. The histamine in your skin is going to go crazy and it's going to start itching even more. So what I thought was going to satisfy that itch, to make me feel significant, to make me feel like I've arrived or worth being, here. Like I didn't find a purpose in life until I found trading. This was my whole purpose for being here. I'm convinced of it now, more so as a 51-year-old in August. I'm convinced that's why I was here. I was meant to be here. And it's not arrogance because I was resisting that for a long time. Like, how did all these things happen where my mother just recently had an abortion right before she got pregnant with me? And it was only a threat by my father to take her life, literally. That's the reason why she gave birth to me. So imagine you come into the world and your parent, your father's locked up in prison for contract murder, doing 2 consecutive life sentences, plus 20 years, plus pick up more time for trying to escape in the early 80s. He's never getting out. He's going to die in there. And my mother didn't want anything to do with me. So I know what it's like for all of you, okay, that are trying to find your way out here, that you want to feel like you're somebody special, that you really matter, that you have a purpose, and you end up having like these montage moments. That's how it was for me when I was a young man. Like I would play music, and then in my mind, while I was driving, doing my job, I'm like, oh man, I'm listening to this music while I'm driving around. It's going to be like this when I get successful. It's going to be like that when I get successful. When I do this, I'm going to show that person, you know. And you might be laughing to yourself. You're thinking, yeah, I do that shit too. I would never tell it to anybody, but that's what it was for me. And when I taught on baby pips, a lot of the things I taught with my lectures and such, I painted it in a light that it was like an action movie. It was like some kind of Tom Clancy, you know, type thing, sniper, and it picked up. It got an audience, and then an audience learned, and they learned how to trade. And other people would ask them, "How'd you learn?" I learned from this guy on baby pips, and more people grew, and it just kept growing, growing, growing. And I don't know where you are in your walk. I don't know where you are in your learning. I don't know where you are in the world. I don't know your state of mind, but I've always had this deep rooted desire to be, number one, identified, recognized. Now you're probably thinking to yourself, wait a minute, you just opened this up by saying you don't want to be a celebrity. Yeah, I don't want to be a celebrity. I don't like just a little bit of notoriety I've received. Like it's extremely intrusive. And so many people are clamoring to get your attention and wanting to do things with you. And I don't feel like my life is mine anymore, which is the reason why I'm putting down Inner Circle Trader in November. I'm doing that. No one else did that. I'm doing it. I told you the time it's going to happen, and I will be satisfied how I leave you. And that way I won't have this itch that I keep scratching. I know some of that probably upsets you, like because you like the things I put out, and maybe you like these Twitter Spaces. And no, I'm not going to do them once we're done in November. But the videos on my YouTube channel, I'm not taking them down. A lot of people are freaking out saying he's going to take his videos down. Not, that the whole purpose of putting out there was so you don't have to buy them from these people that are out there trying to trick you and say that I taught Enigma in my mentorship when I never did. I never will teach that. I didn't teach 90-minute or 90-second or 90-minute cycles. Okay, there's people out there literally lying to you using my name, claiming that I taught this in the forum and this and that. And it's not true. It's absolutely not true. And I put those core content lessons up on my YouTube channel for the express purpose to gift it to the community, number one. Two, to prove that everybody else out there that doesn't want to just simply give recognition. Like it's extremely offensive to see people pretend like they found this on their own. There's nothing. Listen, folks. Okay, this is for the people that like to go in the comment section of other people's videos and say I rebranded it. There's $1 million. That's a bounty. I have $1 million that I will pay if you sit down and go through my core content, go through all my PD arrays, okay, go through all that stuff, and show us all where I rebranded any of that bullshit. Okay, because it ain't happening. Okay, all that stuff that people talk about, it's just to steal your pursuit. And social media has a huge influence over people. Huge. Like I could be way bigger than I am if I wanted to be bigger. I don't want to be bigger. Like I'm uncomfortable. And some of you that might want to be where I am right now, as a 20-year-old, I didn't start that way, but about 4 years into it, this is exactly where I wanted to be at. And I knew I had something. If I made it available to other people, you would all eat it up because it's the market. It is the market. But in those early years, I was fleshing out the things that I had to overcome as a person. It was me that was doing all the damage. It wasn't the tools, it wasn't the concepts. It was me trying to force it when it wasn't there. And you don't realize that. You could become a really good trader learning from me. You could become a really good trader learning from anybody else. If they have something that works, the things that derail you are always internal. They're always internal. There's a there's a guy out there that I thought I was doing something nice. I was trying to promote him and push him, and I don't know what caused him to flake out or whatever, but I'll just tell you this, Pat. Yes, Patrick Whelan. Um, I know you listen to these and I know you watch my videos, okay? And I see you on your live streams bitching and complaining about how the number one guru on Twitter trades in demo. You're trading in a demo. When you're trading those funded accounts, you're trading in a demo. You are trading in a demo. That's just the facts, okay? And what you're trying to do, actually is hurting your brand. Like, don't get on there and dramatize about me. Just do what you're doing. And it's what I was trying to push you to do. Focus on what it is that you do. If you're good at trading and you have a model you trust and you can do it, there's going to be somebody out there that it fits for them. Not everybody. Everything I teach doesn't fit everybody. But understanding and reading price, that fits everybody's model. No matter what you do, the way I teach and show you where price is going to gravitate to, if you plug that into anything that already makes money, it supercharges it. I'm gonna sit out here and talk about how you bought a Bronco and it wants to be a Jeep. Okay, I don't talk about all that stuff. Stop doing those sites because drama marketing does not work. It's short term. It gets a little bit of a buzz, a talk, a crowd. But unless you have the ability to hold that crowd and give them something of substance, you fizzle out and it ends up hurting you. It hurts your brand. Just keep doing what you're doing. I'm watching you still. But when you do that and you rage quit on your live streams like that, it's not good. It doesn't do well for your brand. It doesn't do anything for your image. And if you're trying to grow, you're someone else, okay? Someone else that wants to do what it is that I'm talking about. Drama marketing doesn't work. It doesn't work. It just makes you look like you're insecure. It makes you feel like you have a superiority complex and you feel inferior. That's why these other influencers talk about me because I'm beating the shit out of them. And I'm not even trying to. I'm still right now, I'm trying to be gentlemanly and tell you, don't do that. This is how you help your own brand. Who would do that? Nobody else would do that. I want all of you to succeed. I want all of you to do well. I want you all to make money because you're all going to be having a harder time in the next few years. It's going to get stupid. So you've probably been looking at the way the market's behaved. And early on in the beginning of May, I told you one of the seasonal tendencies I like to have is a sell off or weakness in the month of May going down into the month of June for stock indices. And if you have gone through the core content, you'll hear me talk about seasonal tendencies, and I give you very specific seasonal tendencies. And I got them from Steve Moore. Okay. And I've already shared his website and such, but he doesn't know me. And maybe he does now because I probably put a lot of people on to him, but I don't get any kind of kickbacks. And Steve, if you're listening, I don't want one. Okay. I just think he has the superior the commodity and well, all the markets really. He covers all of them, but his seasonal tendencies are absolutely the pinnacle. Like that is, if you're going to do anything with seasonality in markets, he is the person to go to. Like he is the man. He's the guy that has the data because the way he does it, it's not form fitted. I have Larry Williams' Sure Thing Commodity Trading book. Okay. And to me, when I first read it, it was like, wow, this is revolutionary. This is the thing. And he was kind of like the first guy to get out there and really put something in the print about it. And you got guys like when I was coming up, it was like Jake Bernstein. He made a big thing about seasonal tendencies. Um, it wasn't until Steve Moore did his product of having like a 15-year, a 5-year, comparing, showing the relationships of how it performed over like the seasonal tendency. Like for instance, when eggs used to be a futures contract and they don't trade them anymore. But when do you think egg prices would go up? Right before Easter. Everybody would be buying eggs to dye them, and it was just like every year everybody knew when to buy eggs, and that was the trade that's never failed. Well, that same thing existed in pork bellies, and if you eat bacon, that's where you get bacon from, the pork belly. Well, they don't trade pork bellies anymore either. So, but these thin markets, they were really wonderful markets that had high degree accuracy with their seasonality. Steve Moore brought in a perspective that if he hadn't done it, I wouldn't have even considered it. So I think he revolutionized the whole viewpoint of seasonality by looking at the relationship to any seasonal tendency over the basis of a short period of time using the data. How did the seasonality or seasonal tendency perform over the last 5 years? And then how did it perform over the last 15 years? And then how did it perform over the last 25 years or 30 years? And if you have a seasonal tendency that delivers a specific direction on any given market, that all three of them are in agreement with, that to me, and that's, I'm sure if he was talking to you, he would say the same thing. That's a very strong seasonal tendency, very, very strong seasonal tendency. And that was what I did in my core content, where I used his seasonal tendency charts. And I said, these are my favorite seasonal tendencies because I see them as strong. And I go into detail as to, why I believe that. And I show you visually using his product. And I think that if you are going to trade with seasonal tendencies, you should support him as a content creator. I get nothing for it. It's a matter of insight that you really can't get. There's a lot of people on websites out there that have seasonal tendency graphs and such. To me, they're all they're substandard. They're not, they're nowhere near the degree of Steve Moore and what he does with seasonal tendencies. And frankly, if I was him, I would charge more money. And you're probably cussing me right now thinking, what are you doing that for, ICT? Because his product in the hands of someone that knows how to trade, it's literally like a roadmap. Like it literally, like I can look at these graphs and say, okay, in the fall, at this specific month, I know I want to be a short seller. I want to be a long trader on this month of that particular market. And it sounds like that can't be. As a new trader, when you first come into this, everything is told to you by books and educators that it's random. Everything in these markets are random, and you can't time the market, and you have to react to price. And that's absolute bullshit. That's bullshit. You cannot listen to that drivel, okay, and adhere to that logic and become a independent thinking, consistently profitable trader. I'm convinced of it because I did my utmost best to try to do that. And everybody else that does the same bullshit, that's why the 90% losing statistic exists. But what you don't realize is, folks, listen, and I've said this many times in other resources, whether it be on YouTube or in other Twitter spaces, but yes, I absolutely believe that the statistics with trading, that 90% blow out really early and it never become profitable. 90%. But what you fail to realize is there's another party on the other side of their trades. It's a net sum zero game. For every winner, there's a buyer. So the paradigm shift that I had was, okay, when I first started, I was absolutely residing in that 90% losing crowd. I was there, and I was buying books thinking that shit was going to help me. It was going to change my direction. It was going to create me and put a path in front of me that was going to be the right one. Now, what I failed to understand is if I'm buying that same book, and it's been out there for sale for years before I even started, why isn't it everybody else hasn't figured out what I was going to do, which is follow the rules? And when I stopped buying books, that's when I started learning. When I stopped system hopping and changing my hand of who wants to teach me now, who wants to be the mentor of Michael. When that stopped, and I put my ass in front of the charts and said, okay, I don't know anything. I'm nobody, and I'm at the first step. I'm at zero. What do I want to do? Where is my focus at? Where do I right now, looking at these markets and the opportunities that they present, where do I want to go in this? What can I do with the job that I have? I had a job that I was working. I had to be out in Owings Mills real early in the morning, and the whole workday was really about 12 and a half, 13 hours. So I couldn't be in front of the charts to trade live because I would be all over Baltimore City and Baltimore County filling up vending machines, fixing coffee machines. And even on the way home, I would probably have to be stopping and fixing a machine that someone would call and say, hey, our something didn't work. And my boss at the time, Glenn, would say, this is what I need you to do this. And that's it. So I can't go home and do what I want to do when I'm off. I'm stopping and doing a service call. So I had to come up with a way of determining what the hell it is I'm going to do, which was very difficult for me because I felt like if I could sit in front of the charts and look at 1 hour charts real time, I would be able to do very, very well. But I couldn't have real time charts while I was driving around in a step van. So the next best thing for me was to get some kind of quote device. So that way I had to come up with a way of determining where I want to be a buyer because I wasn't a short seller in the beginning. I didn't understand short selling. I was afraid of it. And it didn't make any sense. How can you sell something you don't own and make money, right? It's like, what the hell's that? So I wanted to be a buyer only. So my motto was buy model only. And what was the driving force behind the decisions that made me a buyer? I was looking at a 9 and 18 exponential moving average on a daily chart. If the 9-day moving average, now I don't do this now, folks, so don't take this as the gospel, okay? But I'm just telling you how we have changed, okay? We've definitely evolved. But when I first started, it was a 9 EMA exponential and a 18-day exponential moving average on the daily chart. And I had a 50-day moving average that was just a simple, not even exponential. So what I wanted to see was that 50-day sloping up. I don't care how, if it was a gradual slope, if it was higher than it was 20 days ago, to me, I'm looking for longs. But that doesn't give me the buy yet. I wanted to see the 9-day being above the EMA. I'm sorry, the 9 EMA above the 18-day EMA. But it can't just cross it. I can't do that. I have to wait for it to cross. Then it has to spend at least 3 days above the 18-day. So that in my mind, momentum is absolutely going long. Now, I did not get the best entries. I didn't catch the lows. I was afraid of trying to do that because Larry Williams said, don't go in trying to catch falling daggers. So he was my mentor. So I said, fuck that. I ain't going in and doing that. I'm going to wait for it to be moving and I'll get in sync with it then. How did I do that? What was my entry mechanism? In the evening time, when I finally found my way home, did my exercising, and then ate and then showered, I would spend all night long, sometimes going to work, doing that same schedule with less than 3 hours sleep sometimes. Oh, come on. I'm telling you, you think I'm an insomniac now. I don't require a lot of sleep. I don't know why people think they got to be sleeping their whole fucking life away, but 8 hours sleep to me, you're wasting it. You're wasting it. You would probably do so much better if you get to a point where you can not have to have a job. Do small sessions in sleep. Like I do 2 4-hour sessions. They're broken up. And then I catnap in between when I can. I get so much shit done. That's why some of you like, do you ever sleep? Yeah, I sleep. I schedule sleep. But I don't have the same peers of the world like you do. But this guy doesn't have the right settings. I'm going to buy another book or another course, another DVD, okay, that talks about it. And they will give me the part that this guy left out. And it never worked like that. It never fucking worked. So I was like, there's so many holes in this industry, so many opportunity for people that would know how to do something. Why don't they come out here and simply just produce something that works? Like, it removes all the bullshit, cuts right down to the bone and says, okay, no fluff, no indicator. This is what price is going to do. And I don't give a shit if you believe it or not, because this is how it's going to be. And I said, I can't find it. I'm looking around. I can't find anybody able to do that. So I'm going to be that. That was my passion. I'm going to fill all the potholes in this industry where the shit doesn't work. I'm going to fill that in. I'm going to give you something that works. Not just it works okay, it is absolutely precise, down to when you can expect it to form, what days, what months, what markets, what direction, what time. All that shit was my passion. But it started with a very simple little bullish divergence when the market was oversold on a 60-minute chart. What market was that? The bond market. The bond market. I segued from currency futures into bonds like my second year. And I was like, oh, I like bonds. They trend real easy. Like, they're nice. Like, when they start moving, they just tend to move for a good period of time. And I wanted to be part of a momentum. And currency trends, they were great, but the problem was is their gaps were scary. Like, I wasn't able to hold anything overnight because I was not aware of how Globex traded. I wasn't aware of, overseas, how that time difference and what markets are behaving like at that time. I was brand new to all that stuff. So I was afraid to touch that. So if I did any kind of trading not index, but currency futures, I would do it as a day trade only. And I would get out many times way before the market would close because I was afraid. I was stone cold afraid of doing it wrong. Because if you were in a market, and if you look at a currency futures contract back in the 90s, sometimes it would gap a lot. And if you were holding on to something, you could wake up and be completely decimated. So that scared me. So I said, well, I'm going to be focusing and specializing in bonds. So I want to look at that market. So my model really began on the back of 30-year Treasury bond. And I would use a 60-minute chart. Now, mind you, remember the daily settings would be this. The 50-day moving average, which is a simple moving average, it needs to be sloping up. Okay. That's all it needs to be. The 9 exponential moving average needs to be above the 18-day exponential moving average, but it has to be there at least 3 days above it. It can't just cross it. We're not treating it like a moving average crossover or a golden cross. We're not treating anything like that. It's really moved. And then what I did was I was looking for 60-minute or 1 hour oversold conditions that presented a bullish divergence, a typical, standard bullish divergence where the chart would create a lower low in price, but the stochastic I was using, which was a 14 smooth by 3-3, that was my settings. And if it created a bullish divergence, I would be looking for the opening price at open, which is the reason why I had the quote track. I'm watching that. And I get the opening price, and I would wait for it to trade just a little bit below the opening price. And if it did that, I would buy 5 ticks above the opening price, thinking I'm buying strength. Where did I get that from? I got it from Larry Williams. He buys strength. He was buying on stops. And that was my model. I didn't understand buying limits because I didn't know where I could place my limit order, because I was afraid if I put a limit order in and it filled me and it went further down, I didn't know how to place a stop loss yet. It was all brand new to this, right? So when I caught a runner, man, it was great. It was amazing. But when I put the order in, the stop loss, because you got to put in a order canceled order. Okay, so it's parent contingent, meaning you call your broker. This is how we did it back then. You call your broker and you say, okay, I want to buy Christmas bonds, which is December contract of 30-year Treasury bond, and at this price. Where's your stop? You want to use it? Do you want to use a stop? Yes. You tell them how many ticks away it was, okay? And I would use a 10 tick stop. So it's about $300 some per contract. And in the beginning, it was just one contract I was trading. So I would have no target. I would just wait. I want to see how price behaved. Sometimes it would fill me and then stop me out. And that would wreck my whole fucking day. I would be half-ass filling the machines because I was mad. I'm mad. So I'm just like you, okay? I'm just like you when your shit doesn't go right, you want to blow up. You want to show the world that you're pissed off. You don't want them to ask you what you did wrong, but you want them to understand you're pissed off. I'm having a bad fucking day. Don't talk to me. So I would be driving around all through Baltimore City and Baltimore County, filling up vending machines, pissed off that I couldn't see what it did. And then I would go home that evening, go through the process of doing my normal thing, work out, get all the stress out of me, take a shower. I've already ate. Now I'm looking at the charts and I could see these things start happening. Like if I would have saw that on the chart, I could see how I wouldn't have bought there yet. I would have done this. I would have done that. And that sounds like, oh, it's hindsight 2020. But you know how I trade now. I can tell you honestly, if I would have done something, I've done it this year. I did it last year too, telling you. If I would have been trading, I would have got stopped out there if I would have done that trade. It's not a lot, but in the beginning, it was a lot. I did it wrong a lot with no encouragement like I'm giving it to you. So it's normal for you to feel like you're spinning your wheels in the beginning. It's going to be like that with whatever you do in trading because you're competing with yourself. You have an expectation of yourself, whether you want to admit it or not. You want to see yourself somewhere in the future, whatever that timeline is. You're presenting this as a goal for yourself, and you're manifesting that as your destination. When that destination is going to evolve so many fucking times over the next several years, what you think you're going to be satisfied with is going to change a lot, especially when you start finding consistency and profitability. That shit's going out the window. Forget about it. Like you're going to completely change how you think about yourself, how you're going to live, what you're going to do with money, how you're going to spend it. Like it's all going to change. If you don't know what it's like to make six figures, you don't know what that feels like. You don't know what it feels like to make seven figures. You don't have that. You don't know what that feels like. But you also don't know what it feels like to lose seven figures. For some of you, that's the end of the fucking world. That's it. I'm never touching this market again. I'm never going to do it again. But that's a lesson that you're going to have to go through. You're going to have to go through the ups and downs of what you think you understand and what you really learn from going through it. That was the ICT model. That's what I was doing. And then I realized that there were some trades that were forming that would escape my observation. I wouldn't be able to anticipate them. And the things that led to me understanding more about that was comparing the 5-year, the 10-year, and the 30-year bonds. Comparing them while they were trending lower, I'm looking for an opportunity to go long. Well, I noticed that one of those yields would diverge. And I'm thinking to myself, every single time that this thing happens, there's some measure of an intermediate term price run that forms, and it gives me an opportunity to find a move. So I want to be able to study this and go back in time and does it exist a lot? And I found out that that's in fact what was occurring. And now you know through core content, that's my bond, uh, the triad, the divergence, the SMT divergence for the bonds. Like if for instance, say the stock market goes to shit, okay, or it stayed in a really choppy garbage range, I would just go over to bonds. Like I can go back to where I started. That's my home. Okay. I moved from bonds to trading S&P because I like the volatility that S&P would give intraday. Bonds were a lot smoother, a little bit more. Hang on one second. I'm in the Highlander. It's shut off because I've been sitting here. I need the air conditioner. It's a little too warm in here. But I moved from the bond market and started exploring the opportunities that the index futures were offering. And I would trade the stock market the way I was doing the bonds. If I was bullish, I would allow for, the opening price, get that opening price. I'm already bullish, so I want to see it try to trade down below the opening price. So even if it's, going down a little bit, I don't care. 5 ticks above that opening price, I'm buying strength. And then if it was good, it would just run off. And if it was bad, it would stop me out, and then I'd be like anybody else, losing their freaking mind about it, blaming myself and blaming everything else. I should have did this, I should have did that, and I hurt myself by doing all those things. And this is the reason why I teach all of you, when you're journaling, or if you're talking on social media about what you do and what you've done, you don't want to be negative, because you're reinforcing this whole idea about trying to be perfect. And perfect doesn't exist. I mean, it exists in Christ, but you're not going to be here. And you can't do that in trading. You're going to lose. Sorry for the folks that have headphones on. Got to move away. This dude just pulled up next to me. He's just like steady staring at me. I don't do autographs, bro. Get away. So while I had a heavy required indicator-based strategy in the beginning, I obviously evolved away from all that stuff. And there's a way of using indicators, yes. But I don't think that a new trader should go there. They should learn primarily naked price action. And you'll develop your own tools, which is what I've done over the years, and things that you can apply to price, but not necessarily manipulate price. Like, I don't have anything that like measures rate of change. Like, I don't use any kind of CCI. I don't use any kind of oversold, no stochastic, no RSI, none of those things. They're measuring rate of change. And whatever you're doing with those indicators and whatever input you're using, for instance, like I was using a 14-day, at some point it moved from 14 period to 10 period, and then 9 period, smooth by 3-3 on a slow stochastic. That's what I had. And